Hello everybody and welcome to your NARSA weekly update for the glorious week of the 19th of February 2024. It's a very happy Gary here again, and this season just gets better and better, doesn't it? We're getting exactly what we need from every single game. Maybe not always what we want, and I'll talk about that when we get to the Ross County game, but we're certainly getting exactly what we need to get from every single game we're playing right now, and it's just getting better and better. And as I mentioned, momentum last week, and the momentum is certainly on the uptick for us, and on the downward spiral for them. The mob from the East End are in a hell of a state. They're just going into a tailspin now. And I was chatting with a friend of mine over text this morning, earlier today, and I'd said, we're talking about, has Brendan Rodgers ever been under this type and style of pressure? And yes, he has, and he hasn't handled it on each of the occasions. He almost won the championship with Liverpool and didn't, and then went into a bit of a tailspin, eventually got let go. The same at Leicester as well, and it looks like there's a little bit of a pattern forming with this guy. It's not a Brendan Rodgers podcast, but it's something that's material to our club at the same time. And I would have thought that they would have learned from the 55 season, because it looks like we, Rangers Football Club, certainly have learned from the 55 season and the mistakes that were made specifically in the season immediately afterwards. And we're very much in the ascendancy now, and they're in free fall, and it's just absolutely glorious. And I think they're in free fall because of our ascendancy, to be quite honest. It's us that are putting the pressure on them, and that's what we do. That's what Rangers do. That's what Rangers teams of my past have certainly done to them. And it's he who dares wins, and he who can handle the pressure wins, and we move on from there. So yeah, absolutely fantastic weekend. And what about this? Philippe Clement's win rate thus far in 26 games that he's been in charge is 84.62. That's his win rate. He's won 22 of the 26. He's drawn 3 and he's lost just the 1. We're top of the league. We are League Cup winners. We are Scottish Cup quarter finalists. We topped the Europa League group, and we're awaiting our last 16 opponent. And he's also won just one of the Manager of the Month awards thus far. That was, of course, in January. You remember that. So really, apart from the disappointment of the Old Firm result back in late December there, it's almost picture perfect for Philippe Clement and his team. And I know obviously we're enjoying it. Winning is the thing that we do at Rangers, and when we're winning, we're happy. And I know that I do keep saying it, but this is just absolutely tremendous, folks. It's absolutely incredible. And just look what happens to the others in the championship race when we start to apply the pressure and we do what Rangers teams do, and that is win. It's just absolutely fantastic. And on Saturday ended up being a wee bit more, I don't know what the best word is, exciting than Sunday. Of course, them, Kilmarnock doing to them what they have done to so many teams over the years, and scoring a late goal to change the influence or the output of the game. And then we are like, you're right, wait a minute, we were hoping to go level and be level with them and maybe sneak ahead on goal difference, and wait a second, we've got a chance to actually go ahead in the championship race here in our own right, having been beat 4 times, by the way, twice by them, and of course by Aberdeen and Kilmarnock as well in the very first game of the season. It's an incredible, a fantastic season so far. And even if it doesn't work out the way that we're hoping it to work out, what we've done since mid-October, since Philippe Clement has come in, has just been nothing short of brilliant. Nothing short of absolutely brilliant. So let's get on to the game segment. What I actually started to find as well when I was popping together my notes for the game segment, there's not a lot to talk about when the games go really well. That's just kind of like, we all seen it, we enjoyed this part, that could have been a wee bit better. But I end up spending a lot more time on the game segment when the games don't go that great. So hopefully you'll enjoy less time spent on the games, unless there's something super topical that I need to talk about for the game in particular. But yeah, that's what I've been noticing, so that's probably music to most of your ears, I suspect. But 2 games this past week, starting with Wednesday's 3-1 home victory over Ross County, of course, in a game as I'd mentioned just a wee while ago there, that could and it should have been us going top of the league, on goal difference, and it should have had a way more healthy score line. And we'll get to that when we get to the stats part here in the segment section. But we did enjoy a double from Cyril Dessers. The guy just can't score simple goals, can he? What did we do? Did we hit the woodwork 3 times? Something like that. He was certainly culprit for one of them, and the goals that he scored were really, really good finishes. And he does the difficult things easily, and the easy things a lot more clunky, let's just say that. And then we had a rare goal almost at the death, and certainly an injury time for John Souttar. As well, we lost another dodgy goal, I thought, which is kind of mildly irritating. We're not making the teams work for the goals. I think that's the big thing for me. If they pass and play it around about us, and then all of a sudden they kind of get us all twisted and turned, put a great cross in, the guy has a brave, brilliant finish or something like that, I can handle that. I can stomach that. When it's a kind of nothing cross from the outside, I thought it was a good finish actually. The guy had a pretty good finish on that. But that's a wee bit annoying, especially in the game where the fans have shown up, literally and figuratively. We're having a great time. We are playing exceptionally well. I thought we were fantastic. I thought we were so good on the night. And it was, poignant to take us. If we get a 3-goal victory, we go top of the table. And of course, it's just goal difference. And if you're a Rangers fan, that matters. If you're not a Rangers fan, that doesn't matter. and we've been there as well, And I was a wee bit... I don't know what the word is. It's not dejected, but disappointed. It's kind of like, that's too bad. But then I thought better of that. Just at the end of the game, I was watching it with my niece Chloe, and I just thought better of it and not getting too greedy too early, and maybe just waiting until the time is right to actually take the lead in the championship race, which of course we only had to wait 4 or 5 days for, 5 days I guess from Wednesday, to get that. But just to have such a dominant performance I thought was brilliant. I understand and appreciate it's Ross County, they're in a bit of a bad way, they've had to sack their manager recently there, and that's their second manager of the season I guess, and they've got an interim manager in place, and Livingston are kind of breathing down their necks a wee bit, and all that. I get the quality of the opposition part. However, we still need to go out and perform and do our jobs and make sure that we don't take our foot off the gas. And I think that's exactly what we did. The only thing is, not like to only win by 2 goals. One of the 2 goals being scored in extra time was just weird. Wasn't it really? It was so bizarre. But on the positives, I thought, as I say, the performance was fantastic. The chances we created were incredible. And the 2 goals for Dessers, John Souttar getting a goal, of course, the atmosphere, the result, there was nothing going bad about that, other than the goal. So on to the negatives. The goal we lost was just another tough one to take. Not as bad as the Aberdeen goal we lost, which was a kind of speculative hoof up the park, and then Goldson getting himself a wee bit in a knot. But it wasn't much better, So, I don't know. We really should have won by a country mile. And I did mention it last week. I think I've mentioned it on a few of the pods recently. We don't score enough goals. And someone at some point is going to be in for a doing, because these chances are going to go in one night, and we're going to rack up, we're going to take goal difference completely out of the equation, I think, quite honestly, folks. I really do. And, we're just building it up, and we're building it up, and we're building it up. And just like... the demise of a team doesn't come instantaneously. It's the same for the rise of a team as well. When a team is on the up and up, it doesn't happen overnight. Even, obviously Philippe Clement has come in, steadied the ship, got us winning games that we should be winning, competing in the games we should be competing in, and doing some marvellous things. But we had that in us, in pockets, in little spurts. What he's done is made our performance levels so much better and so consistent, and much more consistently than Michael Beale could. And we'll get to him at the end of the pod today as well. But, we do need to continue to score goals, and I think the goals will eventually come. We're spreading them around the team, of course, and we're just doing the right thing. On the stats, we had 72% possession. We had 33 shots on goal, with 23 of those being on target. 23 shots on target, and we scored 3 of them. That's grim sounding, but to have 23 shots on target and be in a position to have 23 shots I think is brilliant, and I think we'll build on and from that at the same time. And versus Ross County had 3 shots on target and 1 on goal, and of course the 1 on goal is the one that they scored. I know that I've mentioned in previous pods. Wouldn't it be amazing if our chance to conversion ratio was the same as other teams are against us? We would be winning many games 12-2 in the way that things go, but that's obviously not the way that things go. On the referee watch, I think Alan Muir did okay from what I can remember. I really don't recall anything that was controversial. In the beginning you could tell they were putting a stall out to waste some time, and he got kind of wise to it, but I'd prefer they just book the goalie right away. One talking to right at the very beginning, even before the match starts, when they go in and have the visit in the dressing room and say, look, I'm not going to put up with this, so you're being told right now, I'm not even going to warn you. If I think you're doing it, you're getting a yellow card and that's it. But other than that, I think I'm not going to be too hard on the guy, so he'll get the standard 7 out of 10 for that. Our second game was Sunday's kind of, what would you say, huff and puff fest. And in a very routine, comfortable 3-0 away win at St Johnstone, with Mo Diamandi's first goal for start and first goal for the club, and James Tavernier's 119th and 120th goals for the club as a right back. It's just, the guy's phenomenal, he really is. And the game, to me, the game felt, especially the first half, felt very, very similar to the St Mirren game a few weeks back. Not very easy on the eye, not a lot happening, not a lot of needle in the game, just a kind of meh sort of half. And obviously after Kilmarnock had dropped a couple of points on Saturday, this game was going to be a huge test for us. And I was saying to the NARSA VP Brian Campbell and a few of the lads on a group text on Saturday that we were, I think Sunday was a wee bit tense because of Saturday. We all enjoyed Saturday, and then on Sunday you're kind of like, what if, like, how do we react to this? Because we simply don't know with Philippe Clement's team. Do we go out? Do we get nervous? Do we start to overthink it? Do we stop doing the basics right? Or does he just have us so well drilled? And the word that everyone uses when they're talking about Philippe is, clarity. He just go do your job. You win a championship by winning each game as it comes, and you don't think too far ahead. Just do exactly what I'm asking you to do, and that should be enough to win the game. That's what it seems to be like. And so what I was saying on the group text was, I just can't see Philippe letting that happen, like having us slip after all the hard work over the last 3 or 4 months to get us to a spot where we're now in a fantastic position in the league, and that's the way that it proved, of course. So it feels to me we just have a real football manager now, don't we? And with the greatest of respect to all who sat in the manager's chair in between Sir Walter and Philippe is the best thing that we've had since Walter. I don't think that's under any dispute. He gets it, he gets us, he knows how to put a winning team on the pitch, he can chop and change his tactics, his man management seems to be incredible. Everyone likes him, and he's just a proper football man, and he's just been a fantastic, incredible addition to the Rangers family. So thanks again to whomever it was that made that happen. But the game, a little bit of a nothing game, certainly not a memorable game, and I know that I have been saying that for the last couple of weeks, couple of games as well. Just, we're not going to remember this if we win the championship. It's 3 points, it's important, and we'll move on. But there's going to be other games that are going to define our championship elect status, and we'll see what those look like as we go forward. But Rangers were in complete control for the majority of the game, weren't we? And St Johnstone, quite honestly, is a team that we should be taking care of fairly handily based on their league position and the gulf and class between both of the squads, and that's exactly what we did. The positives, definitely the result. A clean sheet, a 3-goal swing in the goal difference, and now a 2-point lead atop the championship table with just 12 games to go here, folks. And before we know it, it's going to be single figures, and then that's when you start to get into the countdown mode where you're saying, right, okay, obviously we don't know what the last 5 fixtures are going to be, but we'll have a better idea of what's going to be home, what's going to be away, the likely teams that are going to be there. There's maybe just a wee bit of a fight for kind of 5th and 6th or something. I haven't actually looked at that part of the table for quite a wee while, but we're getting close here. You can start to kind of get dreaming. I know that the folks at the club would say that's kind of like, 2/3 of the season done. We've still got a full third to go, and I completely subscribe to that as well, by the way. But it's nice to be able to dream, isn't it? And just start to get a wee bit excited. I thought Mohamed Diamandi's goal was absolutely brilliant to get us going. And the first time he hit it, it was terrific to see. And then when you see what he, like the control, the look, the shot, the swerve on the ball, the power on the ball, that's a proper forwards goal there, and it was great to see him get that. More squad rotation, more time in the legs of some of the players that aren't featuring overly regularly, which is great. And Dujon Sterling, he's just been a find for us, hasn't he? I mean, he signed and then he just disappeared, and then Philippe Clement came in and said, I need everyone's help to be able to mount a serious challenge here. And he's used him, and he's a very, very talented football player, puts himself about, and it gives us something a bit different, doesn't he, when he's playing. So yeah, I think those were the positives, of course. The victory is the main thing at the end of the day. Negatives, I really can't think of any, to be honest, not after such a successful week for the club, and for us to go to top of the table for the first time this season, and for the first time since I can't even remember, a very, very long time, is we know how that feels now, and it feels great. And it was a tremendous effort overall for the entire week, for the entire squad, for the entire last 4 months or so too. So yeah, I'm not gonna get bogged down in any negatives on that. From a statistics perspective, we had 61% possession, we had 9 shots on goal, 5 on target, to their 2 shots on goal, 0 on target. And I think that's another feature, isn't it? I love it when we get a clean sheet, because it's great for the whole defence, for the entire team, the entire squad, of course, but good for the defence to register another clean sheet. But even on top of the clean sheets, we are restricting teams to so few shots and attempts on target against us at the same time, and that's not a fluke. That's by design. It has to be by design, you would imagine, and long may that continue, because that's a real feature for this club. Because then you can imagine team talks for other teams and managers of other teams saying, if you get an opportunity, you need to seize it, because we're not going to get many opportunities in this 90 minutes. We might have 1 or 2, and we've really just tightened that up. I think that's why I was probably so disappointed with the Aberdeen goal specifically, and a wee bit of the Ross County one. Just that we're better than that. We usually restrict them a wee bit better. But yeah, the stats tell the story essentially. On the referee watch, this one was a bit funky. Matthew McDermott, he had a bit of a nightmare with the first penalty, for sure the first penalty, didn't he? I mean, it was so clear to everyone. He's got a perfect view of it, and he looked lost. He's looking around, he's looking over at the bench area, and you're kind of like, what? Like everyone can see that's a penalty. You see the reaction of the St Johnstone players, you see our reaction, the fans' reaction, and such, and obviously it's a penalty. No, he lets it go to VAR, and then fair play to him, he goes, takes a look at it, and awards the penalty. The second one, I can see why that's not so clear. There's a glut of bodies in there, and you don't get to see everything that's going on. Conspiracy theorists, of which I am not one, could suggest that he was terrified to give it, based on all the scrutiny and publicity that goes with any sort of penalty to Rangers, or he just didn't see it, and that's a thing as well. Either way, it's his job to see it and to call the calls that are absolutely there. And I think you're going to start to see this a lot more, folks. I'll tell you this, because the newer referees that are coming up with the luxury of having VAR there's going to be a discernible change in culture, a discernible change in behaviour from a referee perspective, where they're just going to say, I'm going to, unless it's 100% obvious, I'm not going to call it. I'm going to let the process take care of itself, and then I'll make the call afterwards. I just don't want that on my conscience should the circumstance come to pass that I was incorrect. And nobody minds if you make a call and then you overturn it. You made the call, this is what you've seen, versus you might want to go have another look at that. You go have a look at that, you say, oh, that's actually not the way I seen it the first time, but this is the way I see it now. I can overrule it. That's better than no call and then using the safety net or the safety cushion of VAR after that. So let's keep an eye on that. So just as a result of of that. He wasn't hugely involved in the game, but that was material for us, and so I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10. He seems like he could maybe learn from that decision and move forward with a wee bit more confidence in the future. Just the one game this week, and it's a big one for us folks. It's at home to Hearts, and that's on Saturday, the 24th of February, and that's a 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time kickoff. That's 3 p.m. in the UK, and you'll remember the last game, well, of course, the League Cup final, where we enjoyed a 3-1 victory there. But in terms of the domestic league, we had a 2-1 win late in October, and our 2 goals came in injury time. Remember that? And that was from James Tavernier and then Danilo with that brilliant header. And then we had a 1-0 victory at Tynecastle in early December, and that was Abdallah Sima that had scored that one as well. Imagine we still had him available. Oof, we would have scored about 30 goals on Wednesday night there. So yeah, and as I mentioned, we did have a League Cup final victory. Hearts are flying right now. This is probably the most difficult game I think we could have from anyone in the league right now, and they are really going all hot and heavy, chasing second spot in the league, and I wish them all the luck in the world to get that second spot, because I think they're capable of it. So overall, I think in the next 2 games, I know there's 10 to go after that, I fully appreciate that. If we beat Hearts on Saturday, and then we beat Kilmarnock away the following midweek, and I'll talk more about that next week, of course. Those are 2 defining games. Yes, the 2 Old Firm games are going to have a massive play into exactly what we're doing going forward. I don't think Philippe makes the same mistakes as last time. I don't think they get the same luck as they get the next time. So the Old Firm games, I don't have much qualms about them, but the next 2 games, home to Hearts and away to Kilmarnock, if we win them, we are really, really on our way, and that shapes what the season's going to look like for us as we go forward. And I don't think Philippe and his team are in much of a mood to give anything away after working so hard to get back into the race as well. So yeah, for RTV, nothing. I never heard anything. I was asked for a couple of vouchers this weekend, and I gave one out, which apparently was already redeemed, so that was a bit of a whoopsie moment. And the other one I kind of slept in and forgot to get it to the fellow on time, so my apologies for that. But I've asked for another couple of vouchers from RTV, and we'll get them distributed before the weekend's game for absolute certain. Other than that, I think the feed was okay. We did have an issue with the feed, of course, for the Ross County game. I did put a note into RTV to try and find out what happened. There was something with the Stream AMG side. We got it fixed. We got in roughly in about half an hour or so, but we haven't found out yet what happened or not. So Alan McWatt and myself are still kind of investigating that, and as soon as we know what that looks like, we'll get back to everybody and let them know. Not very often we have technical issues from RTV these days, so that was a bit of a downer, and of course in a game that we're all desperate to see, it's not cool at all. On the shout outs for this week, I would like to put out a belated birthday shout out to my sister Debbie. And Debbie was, I'm not going to reveal her age, she enjoyed her 50th birthday last year, so we don't need to talk about the number for this year. And we had a great time. I did get a wee bit of she was kind of wondering why she never get mentioned on last week's pod, and I explained the rules to her, of course, that it's a couple of weeks before, a couple of weeks after, just to give us a wee bit of grace should people forget and things. And I think it was kind of insinuating that in some way I'd forgotten about it, which is not true at all. Her birthday was on the 17th, and we had a wonderful day with the family. We had a lovely dinner at night, went back to the Carey's house and stayed up way too late, which made yesterday a bit of a slower day than I was hoping for. Let me just say that. But it was a great time, and happy birthday again, Debbie, and I hope you had a wonderful day and you weren't hurting too much yesterday like I was. This one's a bit of a sad one. You'll remember over the last few pods, couple of pods at least anyway, where we had been trying to get through the RSEA, the Rangers Supporters Erskine Appeal, to get birthday cards sent over from all over the world for Ian McMillan, the little Prime Minister as he was called, because his birthday was coming up on the 18th of March, and then very sadly Ian passed away last week there, and it was such a sad thing, like a kind of weird thing. We were trying to do something. He wasn't in good health. He was suffering from dementia, and such towards the end. But I didn't think it was, as grave as it turned out to be, and it's a hell of a shame. Calgary, NARSA, we didn't send our birthday card yet. The plan was I was going to send it, closer to his birthday, probably early March, so that he got them. But I did get an opportunity to reach out to send a private note to his daughters, Laura and Leslie, just privately to wish them, all the very best in their ongoing convalescence and their grief, and to let them know if there's anything that NARSA can do, to help in any way, that we would absolutely do that. They got back, they were very thankful, very grateful, and they also said that Orlando, they had received a birthday card from Orlando and were just blown away, the fact of someone from another country taking the time to just let them know that their dad was very well thought of, and was something that really pulled on the heartstrings for them as well. So yeah, we were trying to do something nice and it ends up not working out. It's a bit of a shocking situation, and I'll just read a wee bit of the announcement from the club. Rangers Football Club is today saddened by the news of the death of former player Ian McMillan at the age of 92. Nicknamed the Wee Prime Minister, McMillan joined Rangers in 1958 from Airdrie, becoming one of the best inside forwards the club has ever had. In his 6 seasons at Ibrox, McMillan played over 200 games, scoring 55 goals. That contribution brought him 2 league titles, 3 Scottish Cups and 2 League Cups. He was also influential in the team that made the Cup Winners' Cup final in 1961. Inducted into the Rangers Hall of Fame, McMillan, astonishingly given his career, was a part-time player. Can you imagine that? A part-time player, training twice a week for Rangers and working full-time as a quantity surveyor. He was also a member of the Scottish Football Hall of Fame and was capped 6 times by his country. Leaving the club in 1964, he returned to finish his playing career at Airdrie before becoming their manager. The thoughts of everyone at Rangers Football Club is with Ian's family at this sad time. So yeah, very, very sad news indeed. And I guess it's one of these, strike while the iron's hot. If we have a little bit of a campaign going on, let's just do things right away. And I'm kind of saying that out loud to coach myself on that. But very, very sad news on Ian's passing. So sincere condolences to Laura and Leslie at the same time. On the women's team, this is where I do the women's team shout out. There certainly has been over the last month or so. They drew 1-1 with Celtic at Ibrox there yesterday afternoon, and that maintains the 4-point gap at the top of the table. You remember I was saying that things maybe didn't look quite as cut and dried, and now we have both the men's and the women's team at the top of their respective divisions, and that's just the way it should be, isn't it? On the convention update, NARSA 2025, I mentioned last week that I was meeting with Natalie Nairn, who's the new business growth director with the club, and we had a great chat on Tuesday morning just to work through the specifics. And really what the whole point of the conversation was we're doing this in partnership with the club, in partnership with Experience Kissimmee, with the help of 5 Stars. We're really making this a collaborative feel as we move forward through the process. But we didn't have specifics, so we've basically said to the club, what specifically are you able to provide to us in terms of ongoing support, ongoing promotion and stuff? So Natalie is going to get back to us. She was hoping to get back to us by today. I haven't seen anything in my inbox thus far today, so maybe we'll get it tomorrow. But then once we have that, we'll then work with Experience Kissimmee, ask them the same questions, 5 Stars the exact same, and then we'll look to signing some contracts and getting moving here. So yeah, we're getting there, and we'll see what transpires over the next wee while. Just another reminder for Billy Brownlee's ORSA convention. It's not Billy Brownlee's ORSA convention, but it says the convention that he's leading on behalf of the Sunshine Coast Rangers Supporters Club in Queensland, Australia, from the 29th of March to the 29th of February, my apologies, to the 3rd of March. So that's coming up pretty quick here, isn't it? And I'll leave the usual links and stuff up there to the fundraisers and such, and if you're still on the fence about whether you're going to attend or not, you can see the information on the blurb for tonight's pod and support where you can. On to communications for this week, the Gers guide. For today we have the Inside Ibrox, which is specifically related to the women's Old Firm game from yesterday, and there's also an away day segment on Rangers TV chronicling the day that was the 3-0 victory in Perth against St Johnstone. On Tuesday we have the loan review going to drop on the website. On Wednesday we have the Women's International preview. Nothing going on Thursday. Friday's a press conference, and here's the big one on Friday, the Europa League draw. We will know on Friday who we are going to be facing in the last 16 of the Europa League, so that's going to be quite exciting. It was good to see there's still a lot of really good teams in this competition, isn't there? So it's going to be quite exciting to see who we get and see where we go from there. And there's also a segment on RTV from Zach Lovelace, who actually started his first B team game there after his injury. What was that, 4 or 5 months he was out with injury? So there's a piece on RTV going to be dropping on Friday at some point as well. Saturday, of course, is the big one against Hearts, and there's also an interview on RTV with Fabio Silva. And with it being International Weekend, there's no women's game for this week. Just another reference to Rangers and their hosting of the first ever coaches convention from the 27th to the 31st of March. As I'd mentioned last week, they have had significant success with the online version, so they're now doing it in person. I will leave the link to the YouTube clip that advertises that, and it's just a reminder again in terms of the pricing. A 5-day event is £495 per person, and there is going to be a 3-day package and then day passes eventually coming as well. They might be out already, I didn't check it out this week, so but go check that out if you're an aspiring coach and you want to go and see what the best team in Scotland do for their coaching. On the diversity front, I thought this was quite interesting, where Rangers have, I'll actually just read part of this out. Rangers are delighted to add their backing to Football versus Homophobia Scotland's Month of Action, which runs through February. The Ibrox Pride supporters group, whose members are present at both men's and women's first team matches, showed their support ahead of last Saturday's match against Livingston. The Football versus Homophobia programme works to remove the barriers to allow absolutely everyone to participate, enjoy and excel within Scottish football. Their aims are in keeping with Rangers' own Everyone Anyone campaign, which seeks to ensure everyone is welcome at our football club regardless of their background. So yeah, it's nice to see stuff like that. You know, it's a bigger community bigger community involvement that the club has, and a lot of times a lot of that stuff goes overlooked. I was going to say under the radar, but I mean overlooked is probably a better way to say it. So it was nice to give it a wee bit of press today and see that. There's an article on the website if you're interested in reading a little bit more about it. Rangers also communicated or announced that they have signed a soccer academy partnership with Burlington Force Soccer from Burlington, Ontario. It kind of went under the radar. Usually Gary Gibson and Ian Greer and the team get in touch with us and they'll ask for a wee bit of local support and see where things are going, but this one went completely under my radar anyway, and they have since announced that. I had said something a wee bit facetious on the WhatsApp group by saying, it's a pity we don't have a club in Burlington, isn't it, that we could maybe have been asked to help out. Oh wait, ... but it's good to see the expansion. If they don't need NARSA's help, that's okay as well, but it's just another missed opportunity for local engagement in my opinion, and I'll get a chance to chat to Gary about that at some point in the future, I'm sure. I mentioned Michael Beale a wee bit earlier today, and you'll probably have seen by the time you listen to the pod that Michael Beale has been relieved of his duties as Sunderland manager after, I think it's just 12 games in charge. He was appointed there just in December time after they had sacked Tony Mowbray, and it's almost like a Birmingham thing, isn't it? You know, they got rid of John Eustace and brought in Wayne Rooney thinking that was going to really give them an uptick in fortunes, and the fans were quite attached to the previous manager. It seems to be the case down at Sunderland, so that's being sacked twice in the space of a year, in the space of actually 4 or 5 months, and that's not a good look for him. I hope he takes a bit of a breather. I hope he takes some time to convalesce and then just decides on what his next best move is going to be. Just because you want to be a manager doesn't mean you automatically qualify to be a manager, regardless of what your experience is. So not for us, of course, not for Sunderland either, and he will be sitting on the couch kind of wondering where it all went wrong. But he did his best for us, and you're never going to criticise a guy for that. It just wasn't good enough, and he's going to have to think again. And I hope this is just one last shout out for NARCO, the North American Rangers Curry organisation, and I hope that the weekend in Tempe went great down in Arizona. I'm sure the weather was great, I'm sure the drinks were flowing, and there was lots of laughs for the weekend to turn out the way that it did in terms of the results for Kilmarnock and for Rangers. I'm sure it was just all the much more enjoyable for everyone there. So I hope you did okay, and I hope if you're travelling back home today, that you're doing so safe and sound. And just one last wee quick thing on the communication front. I am going to reach out this week to David Holmes' daughter Lynn and get organised a bit of an interview with him and see if we can promote his book, the One Voice book that he's got out there as well, and see where we go from there. So I'll definitely have more to share about that for next week. So that's going to do it for this week, my friends. As always, thank you very, very, very much for taking the time to listen. This one has been an absolute delight to do for you, and I hope that you have enjoyed it as well. And please do pass it on to anyone that you think might enjoy it. And until next week, here's to just really doubling down, putting our foot on the throats of the remainder of the Premiership, setting a statement result out against Hearts, and staying there for the next 12 games to get that SPFL Premiership trophy back where it belongs. Until next week, folks, you please do take care of yourself and all the very best, okay? Cheerio now.